much special needs. But some people will even say that diabetes is one of the best things that's happened to them. So it's sort of a different way of framing it and looking at it differently. But I understand the thought process too, because there are so many different things that you need to think about for type 1 diabetes. When I think about locally, in the past there weren't a lot of resources for kids with type 1 diabetes. There's a lot more now. In the Lancaster area specifically, there's a group of parents that work with the JDRF, which is the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And they used to be called, now I'm going to forget it, but it's the JDRF now. They've changed it because they've got the focus on research. So that is a great resource. And the people in the Lancaster area have kids with type 1 diabetes. So the Schramm family, the Orr family, Jenna Orr is the gal with type 1 diabetes. And Chad and Kelly, do you remember the last name?
I don't know last names, no.
And so it's another daughter, another gal in the Lancaster area. They do a big fundraiser every fall. I think that happened about a month ago. They just did a huge pancake breakfast fundraiser. The other excellent local resource, and then it's also regional and it's national, are the Lions Club. In the past, their emphasis was on eyeglasses and seeing and blindness. And because there's been so many advances in vision, there's less emphasis for them. So a lot of the Lions Clubs now are focusing on diabetes. So they're doing screening days, and this is probably geared more to type 2, but they definitely are a resource for us, and would be a resource for kids with type 1, locally and regionally. Add to that the fact that the Lions Foundation has diabetes camp, and they do that every summer. They do 2 full weeks where kids with type 1 diabetes can come to camp. They can play, do everything that normal kids do. Canoe, swim, hike, rock climb, go to the mud pit, do nature walks, building tree houses in the forest. They just do everything with a fully staffed medical staff that's there for them. So a great resource. It's at the Lions Foundation camp in Rochelle, so it's up by Stevens Point. So that also is something that we would want the kids to know about, definitely. So then nationally, the JDRF definitely is a great resource. They do some regional events. Every other year in Madison, they do something called Camp Endeavor, which is a one day for kids to come, kids and parents to come to just kind of find out more resources with type 1 diabetes, kind of do some fun things. Usually the people that come there are ones that are more recently diagnosed. So they're kind of like, what are we doing in this whole, and they know what they're doing in terms of insulin and blood sugars, but it's kind of like meeting other parents and getting
that support.
That support. Thank you. That's a perfect word. I don't know that there's a support group locally. Lancaster Hospital used to have a support group, and that was more for type 2. There's not really that support for type 1 that we see in other places. Prairie du Chien has a support group for type 2, mostly. We don't see a lot of the type 1. The other national resource, obviously, is the American Diabetes Association. And even on their website, great information, great things that you can download, any free things that you can pull off of the website. Very easy to understand, written at that layperson's level. So really, really cool.
Okay.
Blah, 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 blah.
You got it all, though. You got it all, though. All right. How effective are these resources, and do you know of any lacks or inability to access these community resources? And is being in a small rural community like a disadvantage, obviously, to fewer groups, greater distance travel, less access?
Yeah, definitely I would say is a disadvantage in terms of all of the resources for type 1. You know, if you live in Madison, you have American Families Children's Hospital right there. If you live in Milwaukee, you've got Children's Hospital in Milwaukee. So you've got not only the experts there, but you have the support groups. You have a number of other families that have type 1 that you could get in contact with easily. And I know they do have, JDRF has, it's every month or every other month in Madison that they meet. So they definitely have those resources. The web resources, though, for both of those two national organizations are phenomenal, and you can find great information there. The other thing I want to put a plug in for is that on the Lions Foundation website, there's videos that you can get for free, and one of them is for kids with type 1 diabetes and the people who care for them. So parents, babysitters, teachers, and it's about a 20-minute video or DVD that's available for free. You can get it. You can have it for anybody. You can also watch it just right on their website. And the DVD that's put together was actually done by Sandy Andrews at Platteville Hospital, Joan Barr at Platteville Hospital, and myself. So we put I'm sure 1,000 hours into this thing.
Into making a 20-minute video.
Making a 20-minute video, yeah. And it just goes through the very basics at a level that just starts you to going, oh, okay, I get it. And sometimes you just need that very basic part. For parents that are newly, with a kid that's newly diagnosed, they get all that information, but you guys know, and I know that you get all that information, you can only digest so much at a time.
And aren't a lot of them at a young age, diagnosed,
Exactly. So what do you know about type 1? When does it usually occur?
Like
In early adolescence.
Yeah, I want to say like
6, 7.
Yeah.
7.
Anywhere up to age 30. Anybody up to age 30 is usually our typical. The youngest one we saw an 18-month-old.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine having an 18-month-old and trying to figure out whether their blood sugar is low or high? Or so then some of the resources you think about an insulin pump, amazing resource to be able to just provide that insulin a little bit at a time and have it more continuous.
Continuous.
And they have remote controls for the insulin pump. So, like if you can snatch the kid for a blood sugar, then you can just dose them on the run. Which I love.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That is pretty neat.
Yeah. So rural, going back to the question, rural a little bit more disadvantaged just because we don't have all those access points. But from the standpoint of people really dedicated to it, the people in the rural area that are working it, you couldn't find better people. And so the Schramm family, the Orrs, and the people that do that. There's a family in Cassville that does a motorcycle ride every year, and they raise, I think, $10,000 every year for the JDRF through this huge motorcycle ride that they do. So
that's awesome.
yeah, very cool.
Small communities pulled together.
They do. It's our own, and so we kind of take that and hold that very precious. Cool.
Do you want me to ask you the culture one or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should throw it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any cultural or religious considerations related to patient care?
Yeah, this one kind of had me stumped. From the standpoint of thinking about religious or cultural, there really aren't. We talked briefly about the insulin, and the insulin's not pork or cow anymore, so we don't have to worry about that. It's all DNA combined, so it's not human insulin either. So probably not any religious considerations there. The only thing that I could think of would be more related to exposure in terms of giving yourself a shot. So in terms of if I'm going to give a shot in my belly, am I going to show skin? Or even in the arm, some cultural traditions say that women are kept covered. So that would be the only thing we'd think of. Some way for people to get around that is they'll just inject through their clothing, and that actually is fine. We've seen it work. It actually works okay. Nurses go, oh my gosh, no, you can't inject through your clothing.
clean it
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
You clear.
The only thing I did just think about, are there any, possibly with Amish, with having to keep the insulin refrigerated, would there be anything? Have we seen that locally too much?
I haven't seen that. I have worked personally with some Mennonite families, but they have that
some.
ability to do that. From the standpoint of refrigeration, the insulin bottle you're using doesn't need to be refrigerated. So I would assume that they can keep it keep insulin kind of in a temperature controlled place.
Area.
Mm-hmm.
The insulin that would be, the bottle that's stored, I assume they have a cool environment for
Sure.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be refrigerated, but a root cellar would probably
Okay.
do
Cooler, yeah.
the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But your bottle that you're using can stay out at room temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's a
Pam.
good thought.
Thank you.
Did we think of the Amish?
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
guys.
Yeah, thank you.